The Nature Hike, Part 1. Once upon a time, in a small town surrounded by tall green mountains, there lived a group of friends. Their names were Emma, Liam, Noah, and Ava. They all loved nature and spent most of their free time playing outside. One day, they decided to go on a hike to explore the forest that was just outside their town. They had heard stories about the beauty of the forest, but they had never been deep into it. The day was perfect for a hike. The sun was shining brightly, and the sky was a clear, bright blue. The air was fresh and filled with the sweet scent of flowers. The friends packed their bags with some snacks, water, and a map. Emma also brought a camera to take pictures of all the beautiful things they would see. As they started their hike, they walked along a narrow path that led into the forest. The trees were tall and strong, their leaves forming a green roof above their heads. The sunlight filtered through the leaves, creating a soft, golden light on the forest floor. The sound of birds singing filled the air, and the friends felt excited about the adventure that lay ahead. After walking for a while, they came to a small, sparkling stream. The water was crystal clear, and they could see small fish swimming happily in it. They decided to take a break and sat down by the stream. Liam took off his shoes and dipped his feet into the cool water. "This feels so good," he said with a big smile. The others laughed and did the same. As they sat by the stream, they saw a family of ducks swimming by. The mother duck was leading her little ducklings, who were all following her in a straight line. "Look at them," Ava exclaimed. "Aren't they the cutest?" Emma quickly took out her camera and snapped a few pictures. After resting for a bit, the friends continued their hike. They walked deeper into the forest, where the trees grew even taller and the air became cooler. The path became a bit more challenging, with rocks and roots sticking out of the ground. But the friends were determined to keep going. They helped each other over the rough spots and encouraged one another to keep moving forward. As they walked, they noticed the forest was full of life. They saw squirrels jumping from tree to tree, gathering nuts. They heard the rustling of leaves as a deer quietly moved through the bush. They even saw a beautiful butterfly with bright blue wings resting on a flower. Emma took more pictures, wanting to capture all the wonders of nature they were seeing. After hiking for a few hours, the friends reached a small clearing in the forest. In the middle of the clearing was a large, ancient oak tree. Its trunk was wide, and its branches spread out like giant arms, offering shade and protection. The friends were in awe of the tree's size and age. They decided to sit under the tree and have their lunch. They took out their snacks and shared them with each other. As they ate, they talked about all the amazing things they had seen so far. "This hike is even better than I imagined," said Noah. The others agreed. They felt a deep connection to nature and to each other. As they were finishing their lunch, they heard a soft rustling sound nearby. They looked around and saw a small rabbit peeking out from behind a bush. The rabbit had big, curious eyes and long ears. It seemed to be watching them. The friends stayed very still, not wanting to scare it away. After a few moments, the rabbit hopped closer, as if it wanted to join them. The friends smiled and watched as the rabbit sniffed around, looking for food. Feeling happy and content, the friends decided to continue their hike. But before they left, they each took a turn touching the old oak tree, feeling its rough bark under their fingers. "This tree has seen so much," Ava said softly. "I wonder how many people have sat under it just like us." They left the clearing and continued on the path, which now led uphill. The climb was tough, and they had to stop several times to catch their breath. But they knew that the view from the top would be worth it. After a long climb, they finally reached the top of the hill. When they looked around, they were amazed by what they saw. Below them, the forest stretched out like a green carpet, with the town in the distance. They could see the river winding its way through the trees, shining in the sunlight. The sky was wide and open, and they felt like they were on top of the world. The friends stood there for a long time, taking in the beauty of nature. They felt peaceful and happy, knowing that they had shared this special moment together. They didn't want to leave, but they knew it was getting late, and they still had to find their way back home. As they started their journey back down the hill, they talked about all the things they had experienced on their hike. They knew that this adventure would stay in their hearts forever, but their hike was not over yet. Little did they know, there were more surprises waiting for them on their way back home. To be continued. The Nature Hike, Part 2. As the friends began their journey back down the hill, the sun was starting to dip lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the forest floor. The air was cooler now, and the golden light of late afternoon made the forest seem even more magical. The friends walked slowly, enjoying the peacefulness of the moment, but they also knew they needed to keep moving if they wanted to get home before dark. As they followed the winding path back through the forest, they came across a fork in the road. "Which way did we come from?" Liam asked, looking at the two paths in front of them. The friends hesitated for a moment, unsure of which direction to take. "I think it was the left path," said Noah, pointing. "It looks familiar." Trusting Noah's memory, the group took the left path and continued walking. At first, everything seemed fine, but as they went deeper into the forest, they noticed that the trees looked different and the sounds of the forest changed. The birds they had heard earlier were no longer singing, and instead, there was a soft rustling noise that seemed to follow them. "Are we going the right way?" Ava asked, her voice filled with a bit of worry. Emma, who had been taking pictures along the way, stopped and looked around. "I'm not sure," she said. "This doesn't look like the path we took earlier." The friends realized that they might have taken the wrong path and were now in a part of the forest they had never explored before. Even though they felt a bit uneasy, they decided to keep walking, hoping to find a familiar landmark. As they walked, the forest seemed to grow darker and thicker. The trees were closer together, and the path was narrow and overgrown with bush and vines. It became harder to see where they were going, and they had to push branches out of the way to keep moving forward. After what felt like a long time, they came across a small, quiet pond. The water was dark and still, surrounded by tall reeds and thick bush. "This definitely isn't the way we came," Emma said, looking at the pond with concern. "I don't remember seeing this at all." Feeling lost, the friends sat down on a fallen log near the pond to figure out what to do next. They were tired, and their feet were sore from walking all day. "What if we can't find our way back?" Ava asked, her voice trembling slightly. The thought of being lost in the forest as night approached made everyone feel nervous. Liam, trying to stay positive, said, "Let's not panic. We just need to think. We have a map, right? Maybe we can figure out where we are and find the right path." Emma pulled the map out of her backpack and spread it out on the log. The map showed the main trails in the forest, but the pond they were sitting by wasn't marked on it. "We must have taken a smaller, unmarked path," Noah said, looking at the map. "But if we head back the way we came, we should eventually find the main trail again." The friends agreed to retrace their steps. As they started walking back the way they had come, the forest seemed even darker than before. The rustling sound they had heard earlier was louder now, and they realized it was the wind moving through the trees. But there was something else to a soft, distant sound, like the tinkling of bells. "Do you hear that?" Ava asked, stopping in her tracks. The others listened carefully and nodded. The sound was faint, but it was definitely there, coming from deeper in the forest. "What do you think it is?" Liam asked. Curiosity got the better of them, and they decided to follow the sound, hoping it might lead them to something that could help them find their way back. As they moved closer, the sound of the bells grew louder, and the trees began to thin out. Soon, they came to another small clearing, and in the middle of it stood an old stone well. The well was covered in moss and ivy, and it looked like it had been there for many, many years. The sound of the bells seemed to be coming from inside the well. The friends gathered around it, peering into the darkness below. "It's so deep," Emma whispered, her voice echoing slightly. "But where are the bells coming from?" Noah, always the adventurous one, picked up a small stone and dropped it into the well. They all listened as the stone hit the water far below with a soft splash. The bell sound stopped for a moment, then started again, as if responding to the stone's fall. The friends exchanged puzzled looks, not sure what to make of it. Just then, they heard a gentle voice behind them. "You must be lost," the voice said. Startled, they turned around to see an old woman standing at the edge of the clearing. She was small and bent with age, dressed in simple clothes, and she carried a basket filled with wild herbs and flowers. "Hello," the woman said kindly, her eyes twinkling. What brings you young folks to this part of the forest?" The friends explained that they had taken a wrong turn and were trying to find their way back to the main trail. The old woman smiled. "Ah, I see. This forest can be tricky if you don't know your way around. But don't worry, I can help you." She pointed to a narrow path on the other side of the clearing. "That path will take you back to the main trail. Just follow it, and you'll be home before you know it." The friends thanked the old woman, feeling relieved. Before they left, Ava asked, "What is this well? We heard bells coming from it." The old woman looked at the well and smiled again. "This well is very old. Some say it has magical properties. The bells you hear are said to be the voices of forest spirits, guarding the well and the forest. They ring when someone is nearby, letting the spirits know that visitors have come." The friends were fascinated by the story, but they knew they needed to get home. They thanked the old woman again and started down the path she had shown them. As they walked away, they could still hear the faint sound of the bells echoing through the trees. The path the old woman had pointed out was much easier to walk on, and soon they started to see familiar signs: the tall oak tree, the small stream, and finally, the main trail that led back to their town. The sun was setting, and the sky was painted with beautiful shades of orange and pink as they made their way out of the forest. By the time they reached the edge of the forest, the first stars were beginning to twinkle in the night sky. The town lights were visible in the distance, and the friends felt a wave of relief wash over them. They had made it back safely. As they walked through the town, heading home, they talked about their adventure. "That was amazing," said Liam. "I was a little scared when we got lost, but it was worth it." "Yeah," Emma agreed. "And we'll never forget that old woman and the mysterious well." "I wonder if the story about the spirits is true," Ava said thoughtfully. "Maybe the forest really is protected by something magical." When they finally reached Emma's house, where they had started their hike that morning, they were tired but happy. Emma's parents were waiting for them and were relieved to see them return safely. They told the story of their adventure, leaving out the part about getting lost so as not to worry anyone too much. As the friends said good night and headed home, they knew this hike would be one they would remember forever. It had brought them closer together and deepened their love for nature. They had discovered not just the beauty of the forest, but also the mysteries it held. And though they never saw the old woman again, they often thought about her and the magical well deep in the forest. Whenever they hiked together after that day, they always listened for the sound of the bells, hoping to catch a glimpse of the magic that lay hidden in the heart of the forest. The end.